Don't write yourself off yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's only in your head to feel left out or put down on. Just try your best. Try everything you can.
Everything good.
Don't you worry what the bitter hearts are gonna say. Just take some time, little girl. You're in the middle of the ride. Everything will be just fine.
Thinking about Dead World, dude.
Everything will be alright, alright. Cause it's dead. The world is fucking dead. And we're just here to talk to you through it. Cause it's Dead World. Welcome to Dead World.
Very good.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Jonah, my friend. My friend and co-host Jonah, and me, Alvaro, and you, the listener.
Oh man, take it easy, guys. They are loving us
Who
today.
is joining us today and loving this shit on Dead World.
Yeah, we got everyone out here.
Might have to beep that word on the YouTube just in case. Just got a guy in the car. Just got a guy in the car outside. Got the window open, guys. We're doing audio. It's like we're audio liberals, you know what I mean?
No, explain that more.
It's kind of like I'm very much of like a room sound kind of guy, right? Where okay, hold on. It's fucking Jesus.
I can hear that dude ripping it hard out there, dude. I live on a street too, where it's like you have that quarter mile basically from this stoplight to the next one.
Yeah.
And god damn, at all hours of the day, night, I just hear him.
It's, I was driving home yesterday. It was like 2 a.m. and I'm on the freeway like by Hollywood, and it's just these two dudes. They just drive. It's like those guys that are driving past everybody. They're like, you see them on the freeway. They're just going like diagonal every half second. They're just passing every person. And I'm just driving and I see them go by and I'm like, damn, oh, well, they're going to hurt somebody. And then I just keep driving. But I'm like, I guess I'm glad it's not me but they went very fast. And I guess that was just happening right now by my house. Danger.
Honestly, man, it's like I'm a little bit annoyed by it, but I'm also there's a part of me that's like, I just wish I could be the most obnoxious motherfucker possible. I wish I just did not care. I had a sick, super. I'm not sure if this is politically correct anymore. These call them riced out cars, dude. Yeah, I don't know.
He's talking about Nissans, guys. I think he's talking about GTRs and shit, right? That's like the
I don't
Nissan,
know, man.
the Skylines.
It's when you like drop them, dude, and you put like a fucking crazy spoiler on.
You take the muffler off, right?
You hit the neon, dude, but it's like, you patched up your car from the junkyard, so it's like, it runs pretty sick, but it's got that patched up sort of look. I don't know.
I can respect like a car guy, and I can respect, you know what I mean? It's just if you start talking to me about the details, I check out pretty quick because they're like, oh, I got the exhaust or whatever. I don't, you know what I mean? If it gets me there, I never really understood car people on like some like where, oh, I need it special. If a car gets me to the place I'm going, that's a nice car to me. You know what I mean?
I feel like a lot of people, they place like identity in their car, like they're like, the kind of car I drive says a lot about me, you know what I mean?
Oh,
it's not
yeah.
only like a signaling of like, the amount of money you make, because like for sure it's that, but it's like, hey, what do I do? You know what I mean? It's like, I'm a working motherfucker if I got a big old truck, you know what I mean? Or something, you know what I mean? Even if you're just like a guy who answers emails about your properties you own or whatever, you don't need a truck, but it's nice to have one. You're working, right?
It feels like it is interesting the way that cars can feel like status symbols to people. I've just never considered it that way because a lot of the time I see people, I'm already parked, I'm like around the street or something, and then the real status symbol is the people who Uber everywhere. They're like, I don't even have my car on me. Like, I can just afford to Uber everywhere. But I mean, but it's also like, I don't know, my mom lived in this one apartment complex, and then I would see, I think the greatest example of the car identity thing is like military people, right? Where you see it's like they get the Challenger, they like enlist or whatever, they get the Challenger, they get the Camaro, they get the whatever, and it's and it's like my mom's old place, you would see these apartment buildings, and it was like decent apartments or whatever, but then you'd have like in the parking lot, it's like, there's Corvettes in the parking lot. There's a Range Rover. There's a Hummer in the parking lot, and it's like your car payment's probably higher than your rent, low key. You know what I mean?
That's for real, dude. But that's like anywhere, man. You can go into apartment complex. Like I lived in this like just shithole when I moved into Albuquerque,
Yeah.
like where it's like I'm talking graffiti on every building, busted out windows, picking at the rocks for used up fentanyl
You had to get a
oil
gun.
type stuff.
You had to get a gun. Yeah.
My roommate just has guns, dude, because that's the
Word.
kind of guy or whatever. But like you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That's not even like that,
Had.
bro. These people aren't like attacking us. Like they were like fucked
Sure.
up.
No.
They're
Yeah.
fucked. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? They were just
Struggling.
yeah. And they were like they had nowhere to go, and I don't know. You could it's a free outlet. Like people would be charging their phones while they pass out from their fentanyl naps. Like I'd be like, all right, it's
I
it's
had
okay. I guess it's December.
no, yeah.
Uh,
Last year,
Dead World, guys. Dead World. Happy
it's Dead
stuff.
World.
Hey,
Welcome to
yeah.
Dead World. It's episode
Welcome,
2.
welcome, Dead World, guys.
It's a week after 420, but it's 420 right now.
yeah.
I just
Not high enough.
I just smoked the most pathetic amount, sink weed style parody, but
I have just a very serious day at work tomorrow, so it's just not even worth it. I mean,
I got like a
hang out with me,
serious
myself, and I, dude.
yeah, I got like a serious week ahead of me, and I'm just like, today we're gonna be a little silly, Christ is risen. It's time to be silly. It's time to make jokes. It's time to wear white. I think, is that the rule? Like it's like don't wear white after Labor Day. They say that. That means that there's a point where you can start wearing white, and I think it's Easter. It might be Memorial Day, but I
That's
think it's
interesting.
Easter.
I think you might be right. I think you might.
And who made
Yeah.
these rules? Like, is there a clothes guy in the 50s that was like, we've got to stop wearing white after Labor Day? Like, what?
Alvaro, I got to be real with you, man. I feel like me complaining about my apartment is something I don't want to whinily have on the show here.
Well, that's why we moved on really fast. We're talking about Labor Day and clothes, man. What's going on?
I don't know. I think I'm just like feeling a little.
Guys, Jonah's self-conscious because he's coming at us live from heaven right now. And he doesn't want to like he's like, I don't want to talk about my place because it sounds like he's humble bragging, but if you look closely at the frame, he's coming at us from the fucking like St. Peter's gate or whatever. St. Paul.
Yeah,
Who's the guy at the door? Who's the guy at the door in heaven?
I don't know, man.
Is it Peter or Paul?
Um,
Why do they all sound
Oh,
like
I
they're
can't
from
think
Minnesota?
about it.
What is it with the English translations of the Bible that every biblical name is a guy from Minnesota? Or is it the other way?
It's the
Every
other way
guy
around.
from Minnesota is a biblical name.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Fair
Listen,
enough.
man. You're right. I'm up now. I'm in heaven, literally, figuratively.
Jonah's sort of
More
Jonah
people
is
don't have big, beautiful windows like this. Look at these
Jonah's
trees.
Jonah's a chosen undead, guys. He's sort of a character from maybe Dark Souls, right? He's one of the guys that you talk to. And he's coming at you from heaven. And he's like insecure about it. So send Jonah a message. Like I think it's cool.
Alvaro,
I think it's cool that you're podcasting from heaven, dude.
I think we gotta do another take here, man.
Oh, come on. No,
Dude,
I think it's great,
we're only
dude.
8 minutes.
I think it's I think this is really good content, dude.
This is the real deal, dude. This is
This
the
is the real
unedited,
deal.
the
Holyfield,
unfiltered.
Silver Spoon, Croon, Young Buffoon. Yeah, they know me well. Yeah, man. What do you think podcasting is? You think it's
I'm not.
You think it's
Go
a
ahead.
script?
Listen, if anybody watched anything that's come out before this, heavy edits. We're taking the ums out. We're taking the likes out.
Taking arms, we're taking likes.
Like watch the screen closely. It's basically like a flickering reel of photos. It's
Jump cut world. It's not dead world. It's jump cut world.
Yeah, man. No, not even. We had some nice talks.
Look, we try to have fun. We try to enjoy ourselves, and we believe that if we enjoy ourselves, you'll enjoy yourself, listener. So if you like it, you like it. And that's the inside baseball that we're talking. That's the shop we're talking.
Yeah, realistically, I'm talking to like 4 people who might love me so fucking much. And then like 2 people who are like weirdly hating and just like here to see me fucking suck ass.
We're nothing without our haters.
Yeah.
We started a podcast. That's how you know we need the haters.
Dude, I'm right now preparing for the first scandal for someone to come out of the woodwork claiming I did them wrong. When if you look at the footage after the lawsuit came out, Discovery,
Sure.
turns out
It's
that
actually very expensive to get to Discovery. Most lawsuits don't make it that. You know what?
I actually don't know anything about that. And realistically, I don't feel I'm like that fucked up of a guy. I walk around feeling like shit, being like, "Oh, what the fuck is wrong with me?" But then I honestly, I talk to any of my friends, and I'm like, "Well,
There's worse. There's worse.
yeah, you know,
There's worse people for sure. Yeah, I mean, that's
I
kind of what
love
keeps.
them, but
Hey, that keeps a lot of people going. Is like there's worse people.
yeah,
It's like
dude,
as
I
long
fuck
as
with
I'm
that.
not like number one, you know what I mean? Like Hitler must have had a lot on his plate as
Yeah, yeah.
as a person, where it's like you're number one. And I don't know if he was like do you think he was number one in his time? Like when it was around, were people like he's the worst guy right now, or was there like a different guy in the 40s who people were like this guy sucks because they just didn't know, right?
So
Or
here's what I
whatever.
gotta say about that, right? There's nobody who was like really had this conception of like, oh my God, this is evil incarnate. But there was definitely like a guy who was like around him who was like, I'm telling you, this guy's fucked up. He's really not, and then
It's
everyone's like,
not
dude,
cool what
shut
he's
up, dude.
doing.
If you keep on, he knows that you talk shit like this about him, dude. That's why he treats you like you're an asshole. He's like, I'm
Right.
just saying. And then when the shit came down,
Yeah, he's like, I fucking
truly
knew it
vindicated
all
man.
along.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
I knew it
So
all along.
there was that kind of guy, but it's not like he didn't have like the real deal understanding, but he just did hate him.
I don't know,
you
dude.
know.
I do think there were people in that time who were like, Hitler's the worst, bro. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like
I, I
we
mean,
don't give enough
clearly,
credit to 40s people.
everybody living in the camps where he killed people for
Sure, of
whatever
course,
dumb
yeah,
fucking
right.
reason, we're
Yes,
all like,
of
this
course.
guy.
Yes, yeah, that guy's he's the worst. Yeah, you're right.
Dude, you
I
you
guess
gotta
you're right. It's like
wonder
someone outside of it. Yeah.
about like Stockholm syndrome, if anybody, because you know how some people they flip on realistically what is the positive part of their cause. Like,
Right.
have you ever seen once removed immigrants who are like, you know what, fuck these fucking people at the fucking border? It's
There
like that
is
kind of shit.
there's very few people who upset me more than immigrants, Mexican people. I'm saying Mexican because that's what I'm familiar with, but I'm sure they exist everywhere. But it's like people whose parents were immigrants and
Right,
now
right.
all of a sudden they have this entitlement of like, well, they're not from here. That is the
Yeah,
most
yeah.
insane shit to me of
It really is.
like a Trump supporter
Right, right.
that's like it's like a dude in Texas and he's Mexican and he's got the cowboy hat and he's got horses and shit and he
Yeah,
has
yeah.
no indication of the idea that it's other people like them coming through. I mean, bro, actually the thing that upsets me more than that is a border patrol agent with an accent. A border patrol agent where it's like Spanish is clearly their first language.
Hey, what are you doing here?
Yeah, they're like, yeah, man, we got to check your papers, bro. It's like that's
Yeah.
crazy. That's crazy to me. You're
Um,
like, oh, you're in the
yeah,
border
yeah.
patrol and like you can't like whatever. But it's that shit is hilarious. It's just funny. At a certain point, it just becomes funny because it's like I could be upset by this, but it's
I,
better to just laugh because it's Pa- I was gonna say Pavlovian, which makes no sense because that's like the dog thing.
dude, I know what it is. Do you want to hear what it is?
Tell me.
Everybody kind of hates their parents.
You know, I've thought about that where it's like, yeah,
Hey,
how much of the Latino vote going for Trump in 2024 or whatever, it's just like I was actually thinking about that exactly today, where it's like certain Spanish cultures, I feel like maybe just Spain, it's like
yeah.
such a spiteful culture where yeah, people like hate their parents so much they will do the most ridiculous shit.
I mean, this is what I think about it, dude. Think about you're like, I don't know. You grow up with this guy who was unfortunately put through one of the hardest types of lives a person can have. And
Right.
it's like, I don't know, man. We want to think that good attitude and, hard work and shit like that is enough to carry you, but sometimes you just get fucked. Sometimes you get fucked. And
Yep.
and so, whatever, like, hey, this guy, he took the step forward for his family or whatever,
Mhm.
but maybe he never felt satisfied because he wanted to be an artist and instead he had to be like exploited for a little labor and ignored
Right.
by the country he lived in and
Just so
made
you
fun of and
can
mocked in media and
so you
culture and
can
whatever.
just so you can go to Sonic and shit so you can watch like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in English or
Well, so here's the
something.
thing. Like, I think a lot of guys are like, do I want 40, 50, maybe 100,000 more of my dad? crossing the border, dude. You know what I mean? Do I want
Yeah,
40,000
yeah,
more
yeah,
of my
right.
dad?
Interesting. Yeah.
You know, and like, look, that's an insane thought, but it's like, how else are you gonna explain these border patrol type dudes? You know what I mean? Who are just so divorced from any kind of empathy towards the people that he is. You know,
I think
it's a
so
crazy
much
thing.
of it, I mean, you're really opening up a Pandora's box here, but for me personally, because there's so much that I could say about the ignorance of people when it comes to immigration and stuff, and it can even happen to people who are immigrants because it's interesting. It's just so that's almost like the powerful thing about assimilation or America, right? Where it's almost aspirational to be I can't I can't completely frown upon it to an extent where it's like they've become so Americanized or something in their brains where they're like now I'm so American that I feel the need or compulsion to like
Like the accomplishment
it's like
is
now
being a
I
loud
yeah
dipshit. It's like
yeah
being able to hold wrong
exactly
opinions loudly. I'm
exactly
here, baby. We made it. The whole
it,
family, everybody. Fuck what's behind me. Kind of fuck what's in front of me. What's
that's exactly
here
right.
is is loud and wrong, and I love it.
That's exactly right. I
Yeah.
think that's probably the most American thing you can do, right? Is to be wrong and just loud about it and like because that's what America does. And so that's why I almost can't be that mad at it because that's the assimilation that these like fucking psychopath white people are like they would want from an immigrant in quotes, but that's also what ends up revealing the actual racism in a sense because it's like even the people that are acting how you want as a white person like Latinos for Trump, blacks for Trump, like minorities who go for these kind of political sides that go against their material interests,
Mhm.
like they're just trying to not get kicked out in a sense. It's almost like they hope in a way that by doing that, when that kind of stuff is happening, they get ignored because they're talking on that side. So they're not the ones that are getting, disappeared from a college campus or whatever by ICE because they had the right opinions. It's a very interesting self policing of free speech by people who aren't.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, it's hard to look at anybody who's like affected by this as not
Mm,
being like somewhat a victim of just this like ridiculous system that nobody even like has their hands on. You know what I mean? Like that's what we all suffer from today.
yeah.
It's like these self-perpetuating systems that are just like a little bit not run by people anymore, you know?
Well, yeah, it's like what's the limit? It's what's the limit of the institution itself because it's all these things that outlive us, right? It's before we were born and after we're dead there's going to be these governments and these different institutions and it's like how do we as these modern people who are just people who were kids 10 years ago or whatever, now we are finding ourselves closer and closer to the like button room, the control room where the things that drive things forward are being manipulated. And you have options and sometimes you could be the immigrant that's like, well, no, I'm American, and like those guys aren't American, we got to keep those guys out. And it's like you don't realize that it's basically I was thinking about this where it's like enough people like an institution or a government or whatever, it's not made of the collective interest at all. It's basically good organization or good institutional structure or good leadership maybe. It's just the idea of you have to convince enough people that whatever you want to get done is also in their best interest and they will do it. There needs to be enough of a balance of their own egotistical interests into it for them to contribute to a greater project. And I feel the same way in the sense that like any place that I work at or any sort of larger organization that I'm a part of
Mhm.
that I contribute to, it's like I need to feel a certain level of investment myself in terms of it affecting my outcome for my life before I ever decide to contribute to this. I don't really care about this other thing that I'm working for, like if it's a company or whatever. Like the best companies or best like groups, whenever you look at groups and group dynamics, like the best group dynamics that I've been a part of are usually when people, it's not just that they want the group to succeed, it's that they view it as if the group succeeds, then I'm also succeeding. And sometimes
Right.
there can be a disconnect. Sometimes people will see that like, okay, well, I'm helping these people, but by helping these people, it's not helping me at all. And that's when it becomes like that's when you get your quiet quit. Like that's when you get all these things of like it's
You
an
know, but
interest.
it goes the other way
Hmm.
too a little bit, right? Where it's
Yeah.
like, okay, myself as spending plenty of time being an hourly worker,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what I do in the hour. I'm getting paid the same amount of money, right?
Exactly. Yep.
And so it doesn't benefit me. But then it's like, okay, let's take the perspective of the guy who's paying me,
Yep.
$8 or whatever, right? It's like, who the fuck is this guy? Who's he to me? You know what I mean? Is he someone's son even, or is he like someone's friend? Is he contribution does he have to my life in any type of way other than being a body that I wish I
Right.
didn't have to pay for, and like I'll get as cheap as I can. And so it's like they don't have an investment in doing things for you either,
Hmm.
because there's some kind of weird disconnect
Yeah.
where the relationship no longer became mutually beneficial. And I don't know if it's as simple as just the kind of income disparity, you know what I mean, about like not splitting profits or whatever. Uh, Because it's like, I don't know, right? Is everybody who has a job going to be like so vested in a thing, or do they sometimes want to just show up and make a little bit extra cash? But I sometimes feel like if you really want to get a group of people invested in something,
Hmm.
what's unifying has to be something that goes super duper deep.
I don't
And
even think it
and
has
and
to.
it can't be these superficial things, and definitely the pursuit of money
Hmm.
or even weird cultural security is just not strong enough to really bond people together to change things.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like,
That's where you see the hollowness of just like, I don't know, man, all the big ideas everybody wanted to talk about for like the past 5 years.
yeah.
All the like, oh, we got to change things type stuff, and then it's like, okay, cool, now we're here with like
Hmm.
real consequences going down, and everyone mad at each other, and nothing having been done, and everybody who had something to say, I don't know. I'm not even hearing anything anymore, dude. We're all just like cynical. We're laughing at each other.
Well, I think it's just because it's the level of investment. Well, that's kind of what I'm saying, where it almost has less to do with a sort of financial incentive, where when it's only a financial incentive, that's when it kind of starts to deteriorate because it's usually when people feel some sort of ownership over something, like, and it doesn't have to be actual material, a financial ownership, right? You just need to feel ownership over either your contribution, you want to feel like the thing that you're doing matters and you matter within it. And without that mental feeling, it just becomes this perfect transaction of just like ships in the night. Like, I do this thing, you give me this money, and that's that. And I have no reason to go any further. And it's also like that's a consequence of a structure of a company, quote unquote company, or like a financial structure in like the capitalistic framework, because the whole point of, okay, well, I had this professor in college, right? And it was interesting because I went to like this weird, it was a Catholic school, but I had a politics class where one of the professors was a Marxist, like an actual Marxist. Like he was talking about, we had half of the
Smelly,
semester.
smelly guy.
You know what? He looked like
I'm
maybe he
just
didn't
kidding. I'm just kidding.
look. He looked like he didn't smell amazing, but I wasn't really like up on him. You know what I mean? But
It's all good, bro. The brightest thinkers in
they don't
history. Do you
smell good.
think they all smelled good? Come
You
on.
can't have everything, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. You
So,
got it. Yeah, you got to be a little
hmm,
fucked up to
yep.
go there sometimes. I don't know.
Well, yeah, he was like the type of professor who would assign his book that he wrote. You know what I mean? Get some
That's not that.
more.
That's not that crazy, bro. You go to his class to learn from him. What do you mean?
No, I know it's not that crazy, but it is kind of like hilarious and like it's kind of like if I had a music class and all of my references were my songs on Spotify or something.
You know,
But
dude, what kind of books was he writing? Because
so yeah, that's the thing is that he was really focused on the conflict between owners and workers, right? Capital and the surplus extraction, that kind of
hmm
thing. So and it ties into the idea of we're talking about organizations, we're talking about people with goals and individualistic goals, and people need to feel invested and they need to feel like owners of at least what's happening to some extent. And it doesn't necessarily mean a financial owner, just like
hmm
they need to feel like it matters what they say. And if you
well,
don't feel like what you say matters, you're just going to put in what you need to put in to get the resources that you need from it, and then you're going to go home. And like, which is a fair enough thing. But this dude was always talking about owners and workers, right? And the whole idea that basically the whole concept of a company is essentially you hiring workers and then they are generating a certain amount of value with their labor and then you're paying them an amount of money or resources or whatever for that labor, but the amount that you're paying them by definition is less than what they're actually generating because you as the owner are keeping something on the side. And like
yeah, I don't think that anybody, doesn't understand that. We're all so fucked so hard, and the value that we create is
you
totally out of
would
our hands,
be you would be so surprised, dude. There are people, I mean like there's entire sides of the political spectrum that vote against their own best interests, material interests, because of this like hijacking of like an identity thing. You know what I mean? And that's what kind of ends up revealing normal people's actual beliefs in a sense where they care so much about DEI. They care so much that maybe a Chinese person might get hired. They care more about that than like their actual material well-being to the point where they will vote for somebody who is essentially trying to kill them in less
man.
in a few steps. They would rather do that than vote for someone who might help everybody. They'll vote for someone who's gonna for sure hurt everybody but them than they would for someone who's gonna try and help everyone.
I look, again, right? It's like, how do we explain these crazy people who are seemingly so disconnected from, like, I don't know, some sort of understanding of like their position
Mm-hmm.
and what the hell is actually going on. But here's the thing, man. This is what I actually think about those people, bro. And this
Yeah.
is why capitalism and Marxism and these really
More.
these two things that are sort of held up as being our two choices. I think that they leave something out of the equation
Yeah.
that's maybe just as important and kind of even functionally necessary
Mm.
for believing that capitalism and Marxism are our two choices, man. Because realistically, both of them are saying that like money and having shit and material things are everything. That they're everything, and
Yeah.
somehow if you can buy into this sort of dynamic that plays out in history
Mm-hmm.
and like leans in a certain direction or whatever, if you can understand the world in that way, then you can begin to diagnose it with these different sorts of illnesses or whatever that manifest as like social issues or economic
Yeah.
issues or whatever. And it's like, man, like that is placing a lot of faith in the fact that these things of ours make the world what it is, make it
Yeah.
meaningful, fulfill us as people.
Yeah.
And so the people who really don't have their finger on the pulse of that way of like thinking and observing things,
Yeah.
they're not really invested in what capitalism or Marxism means. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
their heart is with these other ideas
Yeah.
that end up getting exploited. You know what I mean? Like you're making a weird appeal to somebody's
Mm-hmm.
rationality by asking them to like invest in this worldview that's either capitalist or Marxist. But
Yeah.
bro, let me drop some shit, bro. Let me drop some shit on your
Drop
head.
some motherfucking shit on
Drop
my
some
head.
shit
It's
on
dead
your
world.
head. this is basically dude, I'm not trying to get like out there crazy with it. It echoes something in the Bible, but Dostoevsky says that
Yeah.
man cannot survive off of bread alone, dude.
Yeah.
And these are the guys who were sort of criticizing these ideas before they manifested in
Right.
these major systems in the early 1900s, dude. A lot of people were talking about, the communist ideals, dude, the materialist worldview, the dawn of rationality and these types of things, but like the truth of the matter is, we're spiritual beings
Yeah.
living in a physical way,
Yeah.
and you can't divorce the two. And I
Yep.
feel like the emphasis that's put on money and
Mm-hmm.
having and what things
Mm-hmm.
are, it's getting
Mm-hmm.
increasingly ridiculous,
Yep.
especially as we're having more shit than we know what to fucking do with.
Yep.
And so like I don't think it's that crazy for people to get way out of fucking whack with the
Yeah.
things that they just feel so deeply in like this time where I don't know, man, the big ideas, dude, the overarching themes, like they let us down,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
know?
We're talking about material interest, right? And how everything gets reduced. Everything gets reduced to what you were saying was kind of like everything in terms of institution and Marxism and capitalism gets reduced to these institutions and to the idea of this materialistic thing, like, but at the end of the day it's kind of that's it's like pragmatic in a sense, because that's really the only thing that humans can definitively detect off of each other, if that makes sense. Where it's like, I can only really tell what you really want. And it is interesting because there is a lot of times where like people's material needs and wants underpin their psychological behavior to a point where people could give you all these different reasons for why they're doing something, and you could know deep down it's like, oh, you just want to hang out with this girl more, and you're like you're recommending this activity for the group. It's like all these little subtle manipulations, right? But because the thing is, there's nothing more dangerous in today's society, in today's world, in like the social hierarchy. There's nothing more dangerous than somebody who doesn't care about that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Like materialistic stuff, money, and everything like that. People who care about ideals or morals or some sort of mental model of the world, of how some sort of normative vision of how they think the world should be, like it's very intimidating to be a person who has like hands on levers of power, whether it's financial or whatever. It's hard for them to accept a person that's really ideologically, like a person who's really ideologically centered. Like that's a dangerous person. Do you know what I mean? Because there's
Yeah,
people.
no, for sure. But dude, it's just like that's that's what everybody's on, bro. You know what I mean?
Mm,
There's no escaping the fact that we're sort of all somewhat ideologically centered. You know what I mean? We have these like biases that we need to negotiate, man. But that's what makes everything, so fundamentally based on like trust, dude. Because
mm-hmm.
even these things that are like material, that are like a little bit more obvious, by which you can sort of like base your understanding of things upon,
Right.
very quickly, very easily, the boundary crosses, right? Where
Yeah.
it's like when somebody gives you $20,
Mm-hmm.
that feels pretty good.
Of
When somebody
course.
like takes you out to lunch and like talks with you for a little bit or whatever,
It's
and
nice.
and spends $5 at McDonald's, $5 meal.
Yeah.
Now at
That's
McDonald's.
these are the kinds of dinners that Jonah gets taken out to, Dead World.
I don't, yeah, we're all broke, bro. You know what it is. Hey, I'm out here. Look, man,
We're
this
not all
window,
broke. If you're
this
rich
window
and
isn't
you're
cheap.
listening,
This window is not cheap, okay?
Jonah's coming at us from heaven, guys. Do you understand the rent levels in heaven? It's absurd. It's too much money. It's like 60% of his income. He barely has enough money afterwards to buy sandwiches or whatever Jonah would purchase
Listen,
culinarily.
listen, dude. I'm all about that Mediterranean diet. Healthy fats, a lot of vegetables, a lot of
Yeah.
meat.
No, this is perfect. We
hmm
wanted to talk about health today.
Ancient grains. Yeah, I'm on my health.
Ancient.
I'm on my health shit, man. I'm on my health shit hard as fuck, hard
It's
as fuck.
funny. It's funny, Jonah, because you're like the first person I ever went to the gym with.
Hell yeah, dude.
Like we go way back, Dead World, but
Dead World.
We were like 15 at Planet Fitness you were on the treadmill. I was doing your workout and I was like, why am I not getting stronger?
Yeah, you know, dude, because nobody tells you how to do it. And then
Not at all.
when I started, YouTube wasn't even like
Oh,
super
I was like on
helpful type
bodybuilding.
stuff, you
Yeah, I
know?
was like on bodybuilding.com
Yeah.
reading like you got to eat a million grams of protein, dude.
Yeah, dude. See, that's not for regular fucking guys. The shit that you would find on the internet. You know, and so I don't know.
Yeah.
I just I had a friend who he was into I guess like natural bodybuilding. I'm not sure. There was like a
Mm,
category he'd work on. But
yeah.
anyhow, he would tell me some shit sometimes and I kind of put it together, but it takes a while, man. That's why they say get a trainer, I suppose, but
Yeah. I you know
you don't want to
I
be embarrassingly weak in front of a stranger.
Of course.
Anybody, you know what I
No, of
mean?
course. I mean, look, I'm 28 now. I probably started working out when I was like 14, 15. And to be honest with you, the only time that I ever saw results was like between the years of 2022 and 2024. And it's because I was specifically thinking about like the food. Because there were times where I was working out, but I just wasn't eating enough of
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
thing. And like you wouldn't get stronger, this and that. And then it was really only when I was like, let me focus on just the food. And like I
Yeah.
will work out and I'll go to the gym and I'll do the stuff. But what I'm saying is like it was only when I was focusing on the food that any sort of actual fitness results came to me. But that's because it's like I've been bulking since I was 15 years old. I've been in a bulking
Yeah.
phase since I was 15. I've never been in a cut in my life. I have never been like, "Oh, I'm cutting right now. I'm trying to like not once ever."
That's
And
interesting, man, because I have tried several times in my life, really just most recently very successfully
yeah.
to just like, I don't know, manage my diet in like a way that makes some sense. Because you hear crazy things, dude. It's the same thing with like working out, right? It's
Mhm.
like people are like, yeah, you know what? Don't fucking eat anything or eat 1,600 calories. Do you remember that movie, The Machinist? Or you remember that?
Where Christian Bale becomes like a ghostly suit
Yeah,
guy. Yeah.
yeah, dude. So look, he was
I
like,
haven't
eat
seen it.
eat an apple, a can of tuna, and have some
Right.
coffee. It's
Yeah.
like, dude, I remember when I was like maybe like 19 or something like that.
Yeah.
I did that for like a month, and then I don't know, man. I threw in some shit sometimes. Like I was still kind of partying a little bit, so
Of course.
you go pick up some shit late at night, whatever.
Some Modelo's. It's Modelo time. I'm
Um,
Jonah, Dead World. I'm half Mexican or something.
well, dude, I don't know. I like lost a little bit of weight, but then at the end of the month, I was like, I feel actually horrible. I feel insanely so bad. I cannot sleep,
He's
and
like, you're developing an eating disorder.
yeah, I don't know, man. It takes uh a lot of like learning realistically to understand just even what to like feed yourself, dude.
And you might
We're
be.
lucky because now we live in this time where
Mm-hmm.
it's like everywhere, dude. And even like the pseudoscience, like phony type people, like they're
Yeah.
pretty easy to navigate through, because you have guys like really trying to make the space effective for people. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. And that's an interesting point because it brings to me like the idea of just generally the whole point, like the whole thing about the internet and knowledge and like tutorials and stuff. Because it makes me think about that because right, like I was on bodybuilding.com at 15 and they were like you got to do like deadlifts 5 by 5 or you got to do starting strength and then you got
Dead
to
world
do
lifts.
yeah, dead world lifts, right.
Sick.
and and it's like you have to drink a gallon of milk a day and this and that and it's interesting not on the fitness side because like I can say that I'm not like the most educated necessarily on the fitness kind of stuff but with like music stuff. It's like I've seen so many different levels of tutorials throughout my life where like it'll take like years before I will realize that the tutorials I was watching last year were full of nonsense. And like now this guy though that I'm watching now though, oh he's right. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
just like a constant like the whole thing about learning is like a constant cycle of being like, no, the thing that you were just doing was actually really stupid. And then you have to, and that just keeps happening. And sometimes I wonder, I'm like, what's the limit of that? Like, is there a ceiling to where I will not feel like me yesterday was really stupid? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like that's it's not so much you're wrong and something else is right.
Mm-hmm.
Is it's like there's more that can't be explained, and so
Yep.
you come up with something different, dude. For example, man, this is like one I think about a lot. There was Euclidean geometry, right?
Okay.
Which was like, dudes from the ancient period that were,
Triangles and shit.
yeah, they're just studying
Yep.
math and stuff, they're
Mm-hmm.
and coming up with these different ways of understanding space,
Yep.
that had practical rewards, I guess, for the
Mm-hmm.
people who were like, building architecture and understanding how to create like a map and stuff like that.
Right.
But eventually, time went on, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
world wasn't so mysterious anymore. It wasn't so difficult to manage, and we started looking at like what the hell's going on in space,
Right.
right? And then at this point, you can't really apply all these like laws and principles of Euclidean geometry to space. You have to
Right.
start using non-Euclidean geometry, which
Mm-hmm.
is going to account for like what gravity does to the motherfucker.
It's
You know
so
what I mean?
interesting that you're bringing this up, man. Like you're talking about like topology, you're talking about like really advanced mathematics, you're talking about Newtonian stuff, you're talking about past Newtonian, like because Euclidean's before Newtonian, right? Isaac Newton basically took the precepts of Euclidean math, and then he, you know, kind of created calculus. Him and like Leibniz or whatever, like
Hmm.
in that time they created calculus and these measures. But it's interesting because when I think about calculus and like what I learned during like the main thing I learned during those like math classes is that basically all of the things that you think are constant are changing essentially, right? Like
Right.
the basic thing about math and how it gets harder is the way that math gets harder is that 2 plus 2 equals 4 now becomes like 2 is like an infinite series of all these different numbers. Like everything that we talk about as a concrete concept becomes fluid. That's the way that you make something more complicated, is that you make these things like you get told, right? First you get told that you got to color within the lines with these crayons, and you get like the 12-piece Crayola crayon box, and it has 12 colors, or maybe 7. Let's just go 7, right? Roy G. Biv: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. But you could go into each one of those colors, and it's like you got a whole spectrum within each color, and then like kind of etc. in a way where it's like it's a fractalizing of everything, where all of the things, and that's kind of what getting older is, and it's kind of what getting like quote unquote smarter is. It's kind of just anything. It's like realizing that these concepts that you have at the beginning, within each one of those concepts you could break it down even more, and you could keep going. Like you're like, what's a play, right? A play, well, a play is a bunch of people playing parts and acting, right? Okay, what's a part? Well, a part is you're acting, but a part is a collection of other
Yeah, yeah.
characters that you know
No,
about.
I,
And then you can keep going, right? Where what's a character? It's like a collection of
right.
these different people. So
You
it's
know,
like the whole thing that you can kind of do that with basically everything in life, where it's like things that you take seriously, things that are not serious, things that are bad, things that are good. It's just like a matter of breaking everything down into the smaller parts, and then understanding where everything's understanding that like you're here right now in this smaller part, and like you're not seeing the bigger part of the thing that's being created by you being that small part, but you just keep going. Do you know what I mean? I'm not sure what
honestly,
I
no,
mean.
I
Dead
don't, I
world.
don't, I don't. Dead world, dead world. Yeah, that was getting out there, man. I'm not sure. Yeah,
I'm just
you
saying
know,
like
it's like, I kind of understand what you mean when you're saying that, like, we're sort of placed into this world where things seem like they're permanent, in a way, or they make a lot of like sense. Like we don't
Right.
live in a world of theories, we live in a world of solid facts or something, you
Shapes.
know.
Yeah, we live in a world of shapes and
But
solid things that are being like
but
that are in
real
front of us that we touch.
well, you know, but it's more it's like nothing is so certain and
Mm-hmm.
everything is a little bit created, you know. So like
Yeah.
even, you know, this like appeal to like things as being like natural or as being like, I don't know, what in God intended if you're really some old school type guy or whatever.
Old
Um,
school.
you know, it just
Happy Easter, folks. Dead world.
you know, it's just like you eventually realize that having this like, well, that's just the way things are type attitude is like really depriving yourself of like knowing this thing you claim so easily, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because like, what are the way things are? You know what I mean? It's the way things are is actually complicated. You know, we always think that we're having a conversation where we're more or less understanding things and saying the same thing,
Yeah.
but realistically, you know, we don't understand what we're talking about, and we also don't
No.
understand uh uh what we want to say, and we don't understand what the other person wants to say, and yet we're always still here doing this conversation, believing that none of those facts are sort of true.
Right.
And so it's like, what holds the boundary together? Like, do we just babble at each other because we know we're supposed to be social, because that's our weird, you know, evolutionary advantage, or is there
Yeah.
like something meaningful in like having a conversation with somebody where you are sort of negotiating terms? Because somebody had to make the words that we use as like cement
Yeah.
for our reality almost, you know. And so like,
Right.
you know, who did that, and can we do that again? And is it meaningful? Is it wrong? Is it too powerful?
Well, to me, it's like that's kind of what creates the barrier between good conversation and bad conversation, right? Like, there's a very big difference between people talking at each other and then people really listening to each other and like trying to either build upon what's going on or at least elucidate their personal view on some sort of situation. Like, perspective is a very interesting thing because it can be important and it can be completely meaningless, right? In certain situations of like a very raw reality. And that's kind of maybe what, in my opinion, humans can struggle with, where it's like when something really traumatic happens to you, or even not to you, but maybe even to like society, right? You think about like, I remember watching 9/11 on television. Do you know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah, yeah.
remember my family had been in America for less than a year. Like,
Oh shit.
we moved to America in December of 2000. And then I remember in September of 2001, like standing at the edge of my mom's bed, like watching the Twin Towers on television. And it was
Wow.
already like after it had happened. So it was, they're doing playback, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just interesting that you can we're basically within the scope of our existence. We live in this series of constructed realities, and we live in this series of individualized and generalized environments where basically the things that we were talking about before of like the perspective and stuff, it's just I can live like the things that I think are real as far as I to the point to the extent that I don't get resistance on it. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I can live a specific life where I don't get any resistance on something, like I can just believe that it's real, and it may as well be real. And that's how you get
That's sick. That's badass, actually.
that's how you get the creation of like the quote unquote political bubbles or just bubbles in general, right? Like, I've lived in LA, what now, like almost 6 years, and that's a specific type of bubble. Like, if I moved somewhere else and I lived there and I like did the actions of those people and like made friends with the people, like it creates a different world. Like, ultimately, the individualization of all of our perspectives is the idea that like we all have our own little worlds, and society is really like the intersection of, it's the extent to which all of these individual worlds can intersect. And it's like it goes up and down the the conducivity of these like worldviews, it goes up and down. And like in terms of thinking about the political trajectories and histories of the country right now as they are in recent years, it's like we're seeing this fracturing because of the internet or because of whatever. We're seeing this fracturing of perspectives, and so it's getting harder and harder for people to agree on one reality, right? So it's like there are people who basically live in a completely different reality. Like, I'll be
You know what
honest with.
though?
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I gotta say about that,
Go
man.
for it.
You know, because I like we say that like it's a bad thing, bro. We're always like hating on like people who just are like free and being themselves and whatever and
It
shit
doesn't have to be bad, but
because I don't feel like we need to agree on one reality. And people who insist it, that's some tyrannical shit, dude. You know what I mean? That's some like corporate shit, bro. That's some like nationalist shit. That's like some like you know what I mean? I don't know, dude. That's
you could.
academic thing if you have an issue with these guys or whatever.
I think you
You
could say
know,
that. You could say that though. I think in either
like
direction, right?
wh-
Where there's like a tyranny to that perspective, and there's a tyranny to. It ultimately becomes like the perspective of that larger reality is subject to the people who can gain this sort of material power, right?
but that's the thing though, bro, is like you're sort of putting up this thing that there's a general reality or something that either like should be or necessarily has to be appealed to.
Not at all.
And
Yeah.
it's like and it's like I don't feel like that's you know good for people to sort of feel having over their shoulders. So we should feel like
Right.
liberated and just be like really involved in the process of our own self-creation. And I
Yeah.
feel like there shouldn't be these things that push against you so hard. You know what I mean? Like clearly reality and even some ways society is like robust enough to handle as much, you know, diversity and complexity as we can manage to create in it, you
Yeah.
know? And so I feel like, oh man, it's hard for me to have some sort of like macro perspective because like I think what I'm saying kind of points to the fact that, I really value just maybe having mine, but I feel like people, um, you know, they're getting over this idea maybe that there is something like bigger that they need to be a part of. Like maybe like
Well, that's
what's
but
real is like what it is, man. It's like I'm me and you're you, and there's this hard distance to bridge,
well, that's
and
the kind of
we
thing.
got to figure that out before
Yeah.
really we start coming up with all these other things.
Well, that's the
You
kind
know?
of thing that I think can be dangerous, right? It's because so that's an interesting thing where if we think about the age that we are and when what we grew up in, right? Like you and I were Gen Z slash millennial, like cusp style folks, right? But there, it's an interesting place to be at in terms of like a temporal context, just because we're kind of seeing the like traces of an old society and the beginnings of a new one because I mean you look at something like China, right, where it's like they're not having the same sort of maybe existential conundrum in a sense where like America is very focused on individuality and how we were talking about earlier, right? It's like it's the most American thing ever to be like a Mexican immigrant or the son or daughter of Mexican immigrants and be like get these fucking wetbacks out of my fucking country, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's very
Only here.
it's very American to be able to be so self-contradicting. And I think like the age that we exist in, and I just played a note, but the age that we exist in and like sort of the world that we've been presented with, it's like this mix of that old world. It's that meme. Have you seen the meme? I mean, it's like meme is a crazy way to describe it. It's a picture of a person lighting themselves on fire, and it's got the impact font caption, and it's like I'm at the what is it? It's like I'm at the old world struggling. Wait, no, it's like I'm at the old world dying. I'm at the new world struggling to be born. I'm at the combination old world dying
Yeah,
struggling to be.
that's kind of awesome, dude.
It's like the Pizza Hut and Taco Bell meme, but with old world and new world, right? But that's kind of what it
Yeah.
is. Like we live on such a cusp of like this intersection of individuality and society and what society's supposed to be and how we're like
It's just I'll
interact.
I'll I'll make a hard stance right now, dude.
Yeah.
I feel like society is supposed to be accommodating to individuals because like we
Yeah.
will like do absolutely everything we can. We will jump through hoops to justify the dumb, harmful, contradicting bullshit that like
Right.
the leaders of companies and governments and families and whatever else fucking do. Like we do that all the time. But
Hmm.
then it's like, okay, some like more or less benign dipshit has a wacky take that is dumb,
Yeah.
and we're like, put this guy down like an animal. He can't exist with the rest of us, and
Yeah.
it's just like that's not fucking fair.
I
If
have a guy.
and so that's what I'm saying. We're basically talking about how like individuality is clashing with like society. The new
Oh.
society is struggling to be born and
Hmm.
it's dying through what your diagnosis sounds like
Yeah.
an overactive individuality. And I don't feel like that's the case, actually. It is my
Yeah.
perspective. But tell me if that's wrong, if
I
that's not
just
how you feel. We're thinking about it, and there are some individuals that like I don't know. We don't want them. They're here. Can we
yeah.
accommodate them? I don't
Yep.
know.
It's
But
like
people push the fucking limit. I'm trying to be
there's
cool, but there's some people like who is it, Alvaro?
there's there is a hard it's one of the challenges of living in a society, right? It's the difference between individuals and like the societal view and what keeps people safe. And this is what I was going to say earlier is that I don't believe civilization exists without people like I forget who it is. It's an old sociological theory of like a society or a civilization is defined by how they treat the weakest among them or the least able among them, right?
Sure.
So because like it's very easy to create a society for somebody who's healthy, happy, mentally sound, like capable, like can work for themselves for resources and stuff. Like it's like what defines a civilization, what defines a society is how we treat the people who can't help themselves, right? Like the elderly, children, the sick. Like if a society
The
can't provide
sick-minded, would you say? The sick-minded?
sick-minded even, but it's like if you can't provide for those people, then it really isn't even a society. It's kind of the jungle, right? So on that note, I want to talk about this guy. His name is name. I don't know his fucking name. I really don't care to. I hope I never find out this guy's full government name. What I've learned about him is enough. I don't want to learn anything more. He goes by Cybersmith on Twitter. Anybody who's online and really on Twitter like that, they're gonna know who I'm talking about. It's the
Cybersmith.
human. It's the human pit. It's the human pet guy. It's the
Human
human
pet
pet
guy.
guy. And I want to read a post. I want to read the human pet post so that whenever you see this guy on the internet and he's arguing with somebody, you need to understand, right? It's like the thing of like sometimes people will be on Twitter and they'll argue with someone and then at the end they'll realize they were arguing with a 14-year-old the whole time. You need to understand the listener of Dead World. Thanks for listening, Dead World. Um you need to understand if you see this guy on the internet, you cannot you can't there you're not looking at it seriously,
For
all
the
right?
love of God, Alvaro, spit it out. What the fuck is wrong with this guy?
So this is the human pet guy, all right? I'm on knowyourmeme.com, fucking human pet. He's like a steampunk. If you look at pictures of him, he's got steampunk like mustache, beret, glasses kind of guy. But here it is. All right. This is the overview. Cybersmith, also known as Human Pet Guy, is an internet personality and lolcow known for his views on human pets. He first went viral for a Tumblr post in 2017, and here's the fucking post. All right, it's absurd. Okay, it's
Okay.
crazy. Consider the following scenario. It's 5 to 10 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
You're sitting in a restaurant, you're enjoying a lovely meal, and I walk in with my wife, my children, and my human pet, whose genitals are covered as it enters on all fours and it's wearing underwear.
Jesus Christ.
Yep. And my family, we make an order of our own at the table next to you. In what way have we infringed upon your freedom? Is there a rational basis to demand that we leave our beloved pet at home? I'm going to continue.
Oh,
Dead world.
can I say one thing about this?
Please.
He's like, a human pet is totally fine.
Yeah.
But
How would Donald
you
Trump
have to cover the genitals. You can't have the genitals out, but a human pet on a
Yeah.
leash.
Yep.
Yeah. That's
Jonah,
insane.
could you for the sake of Dead World, could you just do that again in the voice of Donald Trump, please? Could you do the human pet thing again as Donald Trump, please?
Am I loving him? Am I hating him? Am I him?
You're talking about him. You're not him. You're talking about him as Donald Trump. But you support him kind of as Donald Trump. In my family.
All right, here, let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
Just for you guys. I met this guy, a strange man. He had a weird, twisty mustache. And what I liked about him, what I didn't like about him, he had human pets. Yeah, just like a dog. He had a man on a leash like a dog. His penis was put away.
Mm-hmm.
And he walked him around while I had my pasta.
Fucking genius. All right, I'm gonna continue with the story now because I'm gonna need more Donald Trump later, but I need him to have more details.
We're gonna cut that out, dude.
No, we're not. No, we're not. No, we're not. We are not.
I went in too deep, dude. It's on
No,
camera.
we're
I can't
not.
be fucking flipping out like that.
We're not. We're not. That's fucking for sure
We'll
in the
see.
show. That's in the program.
I
That's in the fucking program. And if it's not in the program, guys, and if you're listening to this and you're hearing me saying this, that it's in the program and it's not, like, make sure direct all of your hate mail towards Jonah. His address is 447 Heaven Lane, fucking the sky, 11111. That's the fucking postal code. All right, but okay, so we're gonna keep going.
All right, read it.
Fuck it all. Consider a more extreme scenario. It's 5 to 10 years from now. You're sitting in a restaurant, you're enjoying a lovely meal, and I walk in without my wife or my kids. For whatever reason, they haven't accompanied me. And I have my surgically modified human pet wearing a collar being led in by its leash. My pet has been spayed, neutered, but you can't tell because his genitals, along with its boobies, if it's a female, have been covered up. It has no vocal cords and it walks on all fours, not by choice, but because its toes have been removed, along with the tendons in its ankles being severed. It may also have had its thumbs and the last two segments of each finger amputated, making it easier to care for. No fingernails to trim. Perhaps I'm even humanely removed its eyes, making it less independent. Even in this scenario, I haven't infringed upon your liberties. Quote unquote. Irrationally prejudiced is precisely what you are. Now, this is a guy that should not be allowed in society, okay? Because this is a dude that's talking about how he's cut off the balls and eyes and nails and hands of a human being to be their pet, right? And these are the people that you are getting in arguments with online. This is what you, not you, Jonah, because Jonah don't be online. Jonah is a, right?
Whoa.
Of of the Bible. He's a preacher, listener of Dead World.
Dead World.
Listener of Dead World, you have to understand when you're on the internet, you are arguing with 12-year-olds, you're arguing with 16-year-olds, you're arguing with people who believe that there should be human pets. So think about that before you comment on something. Sometimes it's just not worth it, bro. I get it. Listen, I'm an immigrant. You know how many things I see on the internet that make me upset about immigration because of the way people talk about it? Like they think they know. There's people who have no idea. They've never left the country, and they are talking about immigration like they are fucking a scientist, and they have no idea what they're talking about. And here's the real thing, right? Arguing with people online is never worth it. You will never change their mind, and they are usually bad people. And it doesn't matter if you're the bad person, right? It's
Hey,
everybody.
whoa. Listen, is this guy's stumped up thumpkin looking motherfucker on a leash? Did he consent? Did he consent?
I don't think so. That's what I'm saying.
All right, well,
is
so
that
then,
like
at that point, it's offensive. But honestly,
right? But until then,
I don't know, man. It's like I don't have to be anywhere either. If me and him happen to be at the same fucking place, like we at least know we both like Chili's or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? Like this is the thing, man, where it's like, oh yeah,
this is how
if we all had to eat at Chili's, maybe
Yeah.
I'd have an opinion on it. But at the same time, dude, I could go to a different fucking place, and that's what's kind of nice. And maybe that's wrong, right? Maybe
Yeah.
I was born at Chili's.
This
maybe
is how Jonah.
for 6 generations we've sat at this table at Chili's, and so we are. There's no fucking way this shit's happening next to us. But at the same time, Applebee's is open. At the same time, so is Village Inn.
So as long as you're not at the restaurant that the human pet guy is at, you're chilling.
I don't
But
even
you're
care
fine.
that much if he's there. I'm not talking to him. I'm not picking up after his thing or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? Listen, man, it
Totally.
sucks. It's offensive to me. If this guy, as long as there's something consensual there, and these people have health care so that they can address whatever
So
physical and mental
You're
harm
talking
might
about-
be caused by doing this radical ass shit.
Are you talking about the
I'm
human
actually
pet?
okay.
The human pet has health insurance?
All of them, dude. Okay, you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying, dude. We're talking about the wrong things. Should we have human pets? I don't know. But they definitely should have health insurance if they're going to be petted out.
It's a leftist podcast, and
It doesn't even need to be
we're
like that.
we're mostly concerned with universal health care. So if there are human pets but they have universal health care, that
All right,
is
bro, let me chill out. I'm going to hit you with Bernie Sanders.
yeah.
Dude, hold on.
It's pro human pet Bernie Sanders. No, I got this one. Let me take this one. I'm
Do it,
taking the
dude.
fucking
Do it.
wheel, bro. That world.
Go for it.
It is come upon. I am once again asking you to support the legislation of the cutting the eyeballs out of the human pets. And I believe that the government should pay for it if the top 1% of the if the only people who can afford for the eyes of their human pets to be cut out are the top of 1% of the 1%, then that is not a country that I want to be a part of. I want to live in a country where if I want my human pet to have its toes removed, I can do that. And that is what I will provide if I am elected into office.
You
gotta hit the claps. Hit the claps on Riverside. You gotta hit the claps.
Claps. We got it. Here we go. All right. That was
That's what I'm saying.
Let me be clear. A human pet guy, he is a disgusting man. But health insurance is not a privilege. It's a right for all.
You're
No,
doing Donald Sanders,
I can't-
bro.
I can't
You're doing
do it,
Donald
man.
Sanders.
We're gonna take
You
that
gotta
one
go
out.
one or
We're
the
gonna
other.
take
You
that
gotta go one or the other. No, you gotta keep that in.
Oh man. Impressions are hard, man.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
Bernie Sanders advocating for the human pet guy is incredible. Holy shit, guys. That's Dead World, bro. That's the fucking episode, dude.
Come on, man.
We're not doing better than that, bro. That's it, dude. Thank you
That
for
was really
listening.
good.
Thank you for listening, guys. We love you. Stay tuned for episode 3. Subscribe to the Patreon. Follow me on Instagram, on Spotify. Alfaro. It's like alphabet, but with the R-O. Follow Jonah at Joe Schlo Momado.
We don't need to worry about that one, Brad.
Brilliant artist.
Hit the Dead World Pod, man.
We're doing the blogs. Hit the fucking Dead World Pod. Subscribe. $1.50 on the Patreon. Fuck it. We love you. Goodbye.
Oh my god.
What do you think the meaning of life is?
To live and to live in a mystery and to find purpose and to live in the now magic. Now.
I've been non-stop making the rounds. Out of patience at the China shop, breaking it down. Bulls pacing, I'm a fine peace of mind. Full send on my divine intervention. Never mention success, no indication. Check my energy, my hands are seeing red, but now my head is seeing green. What you mean? I got stresses, but I'm focused on the dream. There's nothing in between. Now it's finally you and me. I hope the spirit never leaves. Yeah. All my calls going straight to the mailbox. I'm walking down the hall, getting lost in my straight thoughts. Another one to fall to the cushion of safe living. I hate missing a paycheck. The days when it's Thanksgiving. My wasted potential is a product of my impatience and the fact that I'm afraid I won't make rent. Too concerned with a placement, my brain spent. Took a